And welcome into On the Preds with your host, Alex Darty of A to Z Sports and Shaun Smith of On the Forecheck. We have a great show today. We are going to recap one of the biggest weeks in Nashville Predators history. Lots to talk about today. And we are going to also talk about some surprising things from this week. We're going to tease that out real quick that both Shaun and I have a few things we're going to talk about. Obviously, we're going to hit the big hit that or have the big things that everyone knows about. But we're also going to talk about some surprises that maybe not everyone noticed. But this has been an awesome last few days. It's been so much fun to be a part of, and I will remember this for a long time. Won't you?
For me, I wasn't in the covering games in person world during the Winter Classic, so this was the first major event for me. And I can't really I'm still so exhausted from the week that it's kind of having a hard time being able to encapsulate everything into a few short words or phrases. But it's definitely something I'll remember forever. It's absolutely insane how much fun, even just covering the game we had, much less everything that went along with it.
I've not had. I mean, I've had a long week for other reasons too, but I've not had this many 12-hour days.
Yeah.
In maybe ever. It's been a very long time.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and talk about it. So massive week for Nashville on the national stage. It really concludes in almost perfect fashion. I mean, the last memory is of the Predators losing to the Tampa Bay Lightning. I really don't think that most people will remember that part as much as they'll remember everything else that happened this week. Of course, you had the Pekka Rinne retirement game. You had the Stadium Series game on Saturday, and all of that happened there. I think when I look back on this week, I will think of sort of it being this combination of the celebration of the career of Pekka Rinne that blended perfectly with another major event that doesn't actually have anything to do with Pekka Rinne, but what did not seem out of place at all for him to be there. When he came out, and we'll talk about this, when he came out with the team and had some moments on the ice before the Stadium Series game, no one felt like it was out of place. Everyone was like, this makes sense. This week has been about him too. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think it was really fitting. I mean, you think about all of these major milestones, major memories with the Nashville Predators. It seems like Pekka Rinne was there for all of them, and so to really think of this hosting their first outdoor game, it would have been weird if he wasn't there. It was really kind of reassuring and comforting that he was there. I think the guys enjoyed it as much as any of the fans did, probably more, because that's a guy they've been used to having around. He brings that calm energy, I don't know, it's real. You don't come across a lot of leaders like that exude that just natural calming energy with that also just radiates confidence at the same time. So
when he told everybody in Bridgestone Arena to please sit down, they did it.
They did it.
That was really funny. Speaking of sitting down, there is a store. We got to talk about this before we move on, because there is a store in Nashville that if you are having trouble sitting down because your chair is uncomfortable at your office, or your bed is uncomfortable that you're laying in, or just sitting at home watching TV, you're uncomfortable, you've got to check out Relax the Back. This store is amazing. If you want to work better, you want to live better, you want to sleep better, and you want to feel better, then you've got to check out Relax the Back. Basically, if you sleep well, you will live well, and they have a lot of options for sleeping, working, or just relaxing at home. They have this thing called the Perfect Chair, which has zero gravity position. You can put yourself in. You can just lay. You could have been watching the Stadium Series game in zero gravity. That would have been the only better way to experience it, right?
That would have been incredible.
They have this massage chair called the Chi XE that is just the most advanced massage chair I've ever seen. I sat in this thing and I felt so relaxed. They also have Techno Gel for their mattresses, which is so much better than memory foam. You've got to go check out the store. They have a sleep agent on hand every day to help figure out how you can sleep better and resolve any pain issues. The store is at 2020 Glen Echo Road in Green Hills. Go over to Green Hills, take some time, go in the store, check it out, and learn about the 4 pillars of wellness: healthy sleep, healthy work, healthy body, and healthy mind. So there you go.
Alex, let me ask you a question. Serious question.
Yes.
I was planning on getting an Uber from Nissan Stadium back to the Music City Center yesterday,
All right.
and prices were really high.
Yeah.
So I ended up walking back across the pedestrian bridge, and I'm going to tell you, I had all my gear with me. My back hurt a lot when I got home last night, and I really wish I'd had a chance to sit in the Chi XE. I think it would have made things a lot better.
It would. It's great post workout. That's what they say. I did that walk as well. I've done that walk many times. I used to park and go to the Titans games. I used to park across the river and walk, but it was more just because I didn't want to pay much, and so I was finding cheap lots. Last night it was a little bit more rough because I had to carry all this stuff, and then I also I was very cold and I was very tired. But let's actually go back a second. One really quick note: the Predators did play on Tuesday as well. They beat the Florida Panthers. That was actually a pretty big win, considering the scenario of them having a 4-game losing streak, 2 big games coming up. That was pretty interesting. They got a 3-point night from Forsberg. Tanner Jeannot had a shorthanded goal, and he iced it with an empty netter. I don't want to really cover that game too much, but I did want to mention that. I know you watched that game, correct? You saw some of that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, as far as I can tell, the Predators were like way outplayed in that game for the first part of it, and then turned it on and came away with a win. So that was a pretty big win.
That's accurate.
Not much else to say. When you have a week like this, you don't need to spend too much time on that game. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the Rinne retirement game. A whole lot happened there. There was a huge setup in the middle of the ice, stage, lights. They had all the trophies that he'd won. Or that the Predators won. I can't even remember. What trophies was it? Was the Western Conference Campbell Trophy there? Maybe not.
Campbell was there. King Clancy, Vezina, and the President's Trophy were all there.
Got it. Okay, all of them were there. Good. Yeah, so all the things he had a huge part in and won himself. It's an hour and a half presentation. Not really hour and a half presentation. They gave it an hour and a half to handle. But honestly, like it could have been longer. I mean, like it was fantastic. Everything about it. Pete Weber emceed it, and he, of course, did an incredible job. We welcomed out all the big players, including Shay Weber, including Roman Josi. Kimmo Timonen was there. And then you had David Poile. You had Rinne's parents, Rinne's fiance or wife, or just another. I'm not sure.
He's wearing a wedding ring.
Okay, all right, wife. Then we'll call her wife. And son Paulus, probably some other people there, and then of course all the players, even some Dallas Stars players. I just think that whole scenario, that whole ceremony was perfect.
100% perfect. 135% perfect. How about
135% perfect. What do you remember most?
Here's what I remember most, and I'm going to say this. I also have to participate in ceremonies like that as the guy that reads the names at graduation. So I kind of feel a little bit of what they were going through up there. And when you're sitting or standing there behind that podium looking out at that many people, it can be kind of nerve-wracking. But I'm going to tell you, I think what I really remember about that was Roman Josi getting up and speaking without any notes and just being able to do that so effortlessly. Was really impressive to me. Plus, I'll also say that image of Rinne and his family walking over in front of where they were going to raise the banner and watching it go up. Really, really emotional for me, much less everyone else in the arena. Just to see him kind of witness that culmination of everything he'd been able to accomplish was just really endearing and emotional.
Yeah, him addressing his son Paulus was a really cool moment, I thought, where he talked about how his in the future he'd be able to take Paulus to a game and see his old man's number at the rafters. That's just amazing. Like that's such a cool thought. I mean, I can't even imagine having understanding that your son or daughter is going to be able to see that. That's so cool. And as I pointed out a couple times, well, I don't know if I pointed that. I didn't point it out on the show because last time we had a show, this didn't happen yet. But the last time that you had Pekka Rinne, Shay Weber, Roman Josi, Ryan Suter, and Alex Radulov in the same building for a hockey game was 10 years ago, 2012. That was the last time that happened.
Crazy.
Pretty cool what can happen when you get a guy like Pekka Rinne in the building. So the ceremony was perfect. They got in, and they did it, and they raised the banner, and it's there forever. Players wore a 35 on the warm-up during the warm-ups, and then now it'll never be worn again. Then the game happens. Dallas Stars, of course. Philip Tomasino gets the goal scoring started early. I think that is also an interesting narrative because one of the young guns, one of the young guys comes out on a night that they're celebrating the old guy. He scores the goal to get the Predators up. UC Saros obviously is in net, the now ace. He's the guy now. Padawan to Pekka Rinne's Jedi Master. And he is now – then he leads the way to a victory. They go to overtime. They struggle a bit throughout the game to try to score on Dallas. Jake Ottinger played really well, I thought. But Saros was a little bit better. Saros had a better performance in the shootout. And there's one thing I wanted to mention about the Grandland shootout goal, but I want to get your reaction on the game first before we do that.
It was a hard played game. I think both teams weren't really willing to give anything up, and I think you had outstanding play from both of those goaltenders. And I don't know on the Dallas side, but we knew that Saros wanted to get a win for Pekka Rinne, and so I think any goalie worth their blocker is probably got to at least be somewhat of a Pekka Rinne fan. So I wonder if there was a little bit of extra effort on the Dallas side. Well, they want to get a win for Pekka Rinne. Maybe we'll show off our goalie for Pekka Rinne too.
Yeah.
And kind of have that, they're retiring a goalie's number. Let's put on a goalie show. And I think we got what we paid for on that. And again, the fact that it came down to a shootout, you can say what you want about shootouts on any other night, but on the night that I think they're retiring a goalie's number, the first number they're retiring in the franchise, it seemed kind of fitting that it came down to a shootout duel, and that Saros came away not allowing any of those goals. I think that was a really nice finishing touch on the night. Yeah,
Saros was great. He stayed strong on the pads. I know the last save was like a nice little cross lateral movement pad save. What I was going to mention about the Grandland goal, I thought it was interesting. So Grandland scored on a 5-hole, kind of he went forehand, backhand. No, sorry, he went backhand, forehand, and but instead of going all the way across, he slid it to the 5-hole. What I thought was interesting about that is Josi and maybe Forsberg too, right before that, had very similar moves, but tried to bring it all the way across and try to go over the pad and couldn't get it over Ottinger. So I'm almost wondering if Grandland took note of that and made an adjustment and realized, Ottinger's getting pretty fast over to that far post. He's elevating the pad a little bit. Maybe I can slip it under. I don't have any evidence for that, but it seemed like a very similar move to what Josi did, but Grandland adjusted a little bit and scored.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, we know that they have just notes upon notes of here's whenever this team goes to a shootout, here's who they usually put out on the ice. We also know on the other side, whenever they go to a shootout with this goalie, this is typically where people have scored. And so they must have had something that said, hey, this is a good place to go. And after you saw two guys attempt that and be stopped, I bet there had to have been, somebody, whether it was one of the players or one of the coaches, say, hey, if he's getting so quick over that side, do the same thing, go 5-hole, probably get it through there. It makes sense. Again, no proof or anything, but that I can foresee that situation.
Right. So the Predators get the 2-1 win, shootout win. They keep their distance with Dallas because Dallas is the team that's chasing them in the wild card standings. Predators are still in 4th in the division, and they are holding strong on that first wild card spot, 5 points ahead of Dallas. That was a big win because of that. Now, then you've got 2 days. Well, 2 days later, you've got the Stadium Series game, and there's so much prep work that goes into this. They had their first practice on Friday, and we got to see hockey in Nissan Stadium for the first time ever. Practice, they have media availability. We talked to Forsberg and Grandland, and I think Josi was in there. John Hines, of course. lots of covering of all that. And, for the most part, a lot of it is kind of predictable. I mean, obviously guys are excited to see it, but I thought that everyone seemed pretty pumped. I mean, like it wasn't fake. People seemed really genuinely happy to have this event. Right.
I think what was really interesting for me was when we had the chance to talk to UC and Grandland. I think they were both up there at the same time. And, there were a lot of questions about, well, you're playing outside. They were asking about vision, sight lines, and all this stuff. And Grandland kind of made the point. He said, we both spent a lot of time playing outdoors growing up in Finland. So, for us, at least, it's probably not going to be that different. We've probably played as much outside as we have inside. So, it's just a different place to play outside, but done
you're not
it a lot.
Playing against, you're not playing NHL speed outside. I mean,
no.
If they were playing at all, they were playing pickup or they were playing, so while
True.
That's true, the elements wise, like it's still once you get going and you can see, I mean, those teams, Nashville and Tampa, were playing very, very fast, very, very hard. Okay. So the Stadium Series game really was amazing. Sellout crowd, I guess. I don't know what the sellout number. Did they call it a sellout crowd? I know it's 68,619 was the announced attendance. Is that a sellout?
I think we were told it was a sellout. I can look it up really quick if you want.
Okay. Either way, 68,000 people showed up for a hockey game in Nashville. That's amazing. Something you'd never expect a few years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago for sure. The stage in front of us on the on the media side with the dual stages looked great, regardless of who was playing on them. I don't care about particular kinds of music, but whatever. I'm not there for the music. I'm there for the game. So I think it was a fantastic setup. Visually, everything looked amazing. The crowd was awesome. So I would only imagine I think the only thing that probably made it less of a perfect night for people was that it was cold, very cold. And, potentially if you were in the 300s, you probably didn't see a whole lot of action. You probably saw stuff, some parts of the game, but probably hard to see the puck, right?
Well, my wife and brother-in-law and his wife all set up in the 300s, and they were able to see fine. But apparently, the speakers up top weren't working, and so they weren't hearing a lot of what was going on. So they said that's if you're wondering about, say, getting the chants going and things like that, or the chants being off. That was one of the reasons. Was there was no communication from the bottom level to the top level, and it made it a lot harder. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, that's disappointing. I totally forgot. We got to mention this. Okay, so I was going to save this for my surprise thing, but it's not really a surprise because people already know about it. We really need to talk about the leather jackets.
Oh, okay, yeah, we do.
The intro to the team, because before the game, when they showed up at around 4:00 to the stadium, they show up. We'll talk a little bit more later on about how they showed up, so don't spoil that. But when they showed up, they all are sporting these customized leather jackets, and there's some designer that made these, that worked with them to make these. But
Travis Austin.
What's his name?
Travis Austin.
This guy made him. Travis Austin. So, but this is just a quick little video to show you kind of what it looked like when they walked in. This is all the Predators as they arrived to the arena. Let me just go ahead and show you this real quick. So as you can see, they all had the same type of leather jacket, but they all had different things on them. And that was part of the design. Really cool look. It was just a really neat way to arrive, and sort of the vibe that it gave off was like of this really kind of badass, like biker gang kind of thing. And I think Tampa did something similar, but theirs was more like a cowboy look, right?
The Canadian tuxedo, all dinner.
Yeah, right. So if you get a chance, go look at the details of those particular jackets, which stay tuned. You might hear some more details about those later on the show. I think you'll be impressed with the some of the things that they put on there. Okay, so back to the game. Let's talk about the actual game.
Okay.
I thought it was perfect that Tanner Jeannot got the first goal of the game, and I mean, obviously, you wish they would have won, but that was a big moment for that kid.
Yeah.
That guy has been on a tear of like within the Nashville community. He has been a quickly rising star in the Nashville Predators fan base, right? I mean, we saw Tanner Jeannot signs. We've heard a lot about Tanner Jeannot. He has been just ascending that ladder. But to do it on the national stage and to do it in the way he did it, and to also make his impact on the other parts of the game, he played well throughout the whole game. I thought that was just absolutely perfect. He gets his 18th goal, second on the team in goals now. Obviously, still leads the all rookies in goals. That was such a great moment for that kid.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the goal come on the power play?
Yeah, it did. It did. Yeah, he hasn't gotten a lot of power play time, but he got it on the power play.
Well, and that was one of the big topics of discussion is, he's gotten all these goals without any power play time, and here he comes with the chance on the power play, and it's really your chance to show like, hey, you're not just a guy that scores empty net goals, or you can just fight your way to the net, but hey, we're on the power play. This is a skilled position. That's where you put your really highly skilled guys, and he ends up scoring that goal on, like you said, the national stage. National spotlights on him. Outdoor game, first goal of the first outdoor game in Nashville. And man, this kid's star is just shining very, very bright. And it's almost a meteoric rise. Like, it's just, he's kind of come from a guy who made the team last year as a call up, gets gets protected in the expansion draft, and then winds up, I think he's quickly becoming a fan favorite because I've seen a lot of his stuff available with his number on it over a lot of other players who you would think you would see available. And I always pay attention when they're doing those auctions and things. And his jersey is regularly getting much higher bids than a lot of the other players. It's usually up there toward the top, if not the most expensive, but right underneath it, which tells you people are clamoring for Tanner Jeannot right now.
Well, speaking of cards, speaking of prices.
There you go.
I was going to mention about cards because I do a lot with cards. Upper Deck Series 1, which has been delayed for a long time, is coming out in a couple weeks, I think. And that is the flagship release of the Upper Deck hockey cards. Tanner Jeannot is going to be featured as one of the Predators that has a Young Gun. So Young Guns are like the rookie card, the premier rookie card. That's the one everyone wants. Tanner Jeannot is going to have a Young Guns card in this Upper Deck Series 1. I think that's going to be a high seller. People are going to buy that card a lot. Keep that in mind. All right, I'll move on from that. Tanner Jeannot scores. It's 1-0 Preds. But then, man, Tampa is really good. They put the vice grips on this game. The Predators could not do anything in the second period. I mean, it was bad. They just needed to get out of there because the Tampa Bay scores on a power play, I think, and then I think a regular or even strength goal, 2-1 in the second period. And man, it could have been much worse than that. Like they were everywhere. And then they get a 3-1 lead when Stamkos scores in the third, and you think it's pretty much over. Yep. Forsberg did make it interesting, though, because he scores a little while later on the power play. Mikhail Grandland made a fantastic pass. I thought it was a rebound at first, but no. Grandland just made a fantastic pass across the blue ice or across the low slot there, high slot, low slot, to Forsberg, who scored. Anyways, very close to a comeback, but a regulation loss to Tampa in the end. So not something that's too surprising. Tampa's really good. You just hoped for a different result.
Yeah, I think for me, what made the loss kind of hard to swallow, and I'll say that, of course, if you look back on it, you're probably not going to remember the loss as much as you remember the whole experience. But Tampa just shut down. They just absolutely denied the Predators the chance to get a clean zone entry and get set up. And that was the most frustrating thing, was you felt like if they could just get in there and establish some sort of offense, they would probably wind up scoring. And I think when you end up with that penalty call that Johansson drew as he was headed to the net, a lot of people were saying that should be a penalty shot, and they didn't award it. And I remember saying, would you rather have one free shot or 2 minutes of the man advantage? And everybody immediately said, give me the free shot. But then Forsberg immediately scored once that power play started. And that tells you that when you can get a face-off in your own zone and get set up quickly, good things can happen quickly. And that's, I think, what makes it all the more heartbreaking, is knowing that they had just been able to get set up. They probably would have been able to get it at least tied, if not, take it into overtime and win the whole thing. But man, it was interesting at the end for sure.
It was interesting. I remember Ryan Johansson had a chance, kind of maybe on his backhand, that either he couldn't get on frame or he couldn't get all the puck or something like that. But Andre Vasilevsky makes it really tough. I mean, that guy's a world elite. He's one of the best goalies in the world. He's an elite player. He's always good, consistently good every single game. Tampa's defense is really good. Their forecheck's amazing. It's just they're a tough team to beat. So you would have liked to have seen a different result, but
yeah,
you didn't get it, and it's a poor ending to the week. But it doesn't make the week any worse or anything. But I do want to cover a couple of quick surprises that we noticed. Before we do that, though, we've got to talk about our other sponsor, which is HelloFresh.
Oh.
HelloFresh is amazing. I've been using it for several years now. If you don't use it, if you've never tried it, guess what? You can not only try it, you can try it 16 times, because you can get 16 free meals by going to HelloFresh.com/smash16. Go to that website, get your 16 meals, because what you're going to get is farm fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Comes in a box. They've got freezing things in there to keep it nice and cold if it's hot out. But you get to skip trips to the grocery store, and HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit for a reason. Couple things. If you don't have time to cook, this saves you a lot of time. Most of the meals, 30 minutes or less, some of them even quicker than that. Low prep, easy cleanup, really, really simple. All your ingredients are pre-proportioned. It's also not that expensive. It's cheaper, in fact, 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal of the same quality. So you can save money. You can save probably $60 to $70 a month on doing this. But you've just got to try it. We've been doing it forever, and we love it. So go to HelloFresh.com/Pred16. Use the code PRED16 for up to 16 free meals. And guess what? You'll get 3 gifts. I don't know what those gifts are going to be. I can't even predict, but I can make a guess. I bet one of them is going to be something that's going to taste good.
I hope so.
Keep that in mind. Probably like a candy bar, maybe a little sparkling water, maybe some sort of barbecue sauce you never tried before, something like that. So that's what they do. They give you a lot of free stuff. So go check it out, HelloFresh.com/smash16. Okay. Surprises. Things that surprised us about this week. We're gonna do this like alternate, right? We're gonna do like snake draft kind of thing.
Yeah.
Here's my first one. My first surprise was at the Pekka Rinne retirement game when they announced who was coming out onto the stage to join Pekka Rinne for this. I would say the biggest crowd reaction was for one former Preds defenseman, Shay Weber.
Oh yeah.
I knew he was going to be there. I did not anticipate the volume that Bridgestone Arena would erupt at hearing him, and they were amped for Shay to be in the building. That was cool.
That was a really I kind of figured that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I assumed that, I knew that Shay Weber was going to be there. I assumed that once he was announced or walked out on the stage, or however they were going to do it, when people realized that he was the one coming out, that it was going to be a huge response. And that's probably one of the loudest things I've heard the crowd do when there wasn't hockey being played on the ice.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was cool. I mean, it just made me think, like, if they could somehow get that guy healthy and back in Nashville, it would be such a popular move. Like,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my first one. What's your first surprise of the weekend?
So the day after the Pekka Rinne retirement game, this was really, for me, it was really special. I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of Preds alumni, one of whom was Jordan Tutu, and it was the first time I'd ever had a chance to talk to him, and it was really kind of organic the way it happened. But he happened to bring up Tanner Jeannot, and I really made the connection really quickly that Jeannot is kind of the heir apparent to Jordan Tutu's role on the team, and he had a lot of praise for him. And so I kind of pushed a little further and was like, if you had a chance to talk to him, have you been able to interact with him at all? And he was like, I just got done talking to him downstairs in the hallway, and they shared some notes, things like that. He gave him some encouragement, and I was just really impressed. And I've got videos of it up on Twitter, but it was really impressive to me how Tutu really embraced that role on the team, and I think Jeannot's really embracing the role as well. And to kind of hear the guy that, if you had to, point to someone who had been a really effective enforcer type that also had some offensive upside, that he's able to recognize, like, hey, this is the guy I'm seeing, and I like what I'm seeing. And to me, that was just really interesting to see one generation kind of praising the next generation. It's not a super long franchise history, so you don't have tons and tons of examples of that happening yet, but it's nice to start see that happening. So I like that.
Cool. That is neat, and it's cool when you get those moments that come out of nowhere you don't really plan for.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you guys to talk to him about that. And also, I remember talking to Jordan Tutu a few years ago. It was right around the time, in fact, it was like the week after or something, that Austin Watson entered the NHL program.
Mm-hmm.
And Jordan was also, he talked about that. He talked about his issues and also Austin Watson, and he wished him well and all that kind of stuff. And we know how that ended, but Jordan's an amazing person. He's a fantastic alumni of the Predators. So, I mean, everyone in that building is proud of him and loves him. And great surprise there. Here's my other one. It has to do with, or here's my next one. It has to do with the Stadium Series game. I think just before, maybe like 5 to 10 minutes before this, I had made a comment, and I was like, I guess no one's going to be tossing the catfish on the ice because it's like 30 yards away. And people were talking, I put this on Twitter, on the A to Z Twitter, and people were like, oh, Brian Tannehill did it to be intercepted, or there's comments like that. But anyways, the point is, I was like, well, I guess we're not getting any catfish. And then right before the game, they bring all the players out, they do the lineups and everything. Pekka Rinne is out there, and he tosses a catfish. And that was it. I thought that was perfect. It was great. I don't even remember how he got it. He didn't carry it out there, I'm assuming.
I think Taylor Lewan had it on his person.
Taylor Lewan had it. Okay, got it. Yes, Taylor Lewan was out there too, because it's all about Taylor Lewan, right? Just joking. Please don't hurt me.
Don't hurt me.
Anyways, Pekka Rinne tosses the catfish, and it was perfect. That was a great moment. So that was a big surprise. And I really like that one.
Well,
I was gonna mention, if you haven't seen the GIF or the video, whatever, of him doing that, he has an amazing reaction, because I think he almost hit someone with it.
I think it was the camera crew. It almost went.
And it's like, it's the most gifable. Like, he just is so happy and surprised, and then oh God, what did I do? It's perfect. It's a great GIF. Yeah. It's gonna be an all-timer, I think.
I love it. I've watched it hundreds of times already, and shown friends and family and just random people I've seen out in public, and everyone's enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I've been asked to stop a few times.
All right, what's your next surprise?
Okay. I think for me, we were treated to just a vast amount of just immersed in the fact that Nashville produces and is known for country music. And there were so many just between, I don't know, almost every whistle, you had a live band playing on stage. You had Miranda Lambert and I think Dierks Bentley playing during one of the intermissions. But then randomly, just out of nowhere, we're treated to the song My Own Worst Enemy by Lit. They just showed up. And I
the
remember,
band Lit, not a cover band, but the band Lit.
Yeah, the actual band. And you and I were sitting there in the press box going, they're not from Nashville, are they? And we had to look it up, and they're from California, which, I mean, kind of fits with Nashville now.
The OC.
Yeah, from the Orange County. I mean, and that, I don't know, it was really nice. Don't get me wrong. It was nice to have a little bit of a break from country music, but I wasn't expecting it to be from
in the Cup final game, one of the Cup final games, there are all kinds of musicians showing up for that. And one of them, Cage the Elephant, showed up, but that makes sense. Cage the Elephant is from
Bowling Green. Yeah.
Bowling Green. Yeah. So so they're from nearby. I don't know why Lit was there, but like they were, and that's pretty cool. So maybe they're just fans.
Nobody complained.
However, I did ride on the elevator with them at the end of the game.
Really?
And they had a good time at the game.
Wow, that's nice. It's good. I'm glad everyone had a good time. You don't want to be the one guy at the Stadium Series who had a bad time, right?
Yeah. So, all right, I've got one more. Do you have one more? One more surprise?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, my surprise is one that probably most people, some people may have already seen this, but it was just the fact that the Predators, when they showed up to the stadium, they showed up riding on a Woo Girl bus. That's the only way I can describe it. It was a Woo Girl bus. One of those buses that you see riding around Nashville with the Woo Girls. The Predators all showed up in a Woo Girl bus. And I thought that was very funny. And I thought that was perfect for the setup. That was a surprise. Did not see that coming. And when it happened, I was laughing very hard about it.
Well, when we heard the sirens from the police escort, we were like, either that's the police escort bringing in the bus with the Predators on it, or one of the Woo Girl buses has gotten in front of it somehow, and they're ruining their arrival, which would have made sense. It would have been very fitting. I don't think you could have scripted it any better if they'd done it that way, but it was definitely awesome to see them show up that way.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, what's your last surprise?
My last surprise, I'm going to tell you, after the game, and if you've seen, again, I have some videos up on Twitter, but we actually got to stand in an old-fashioned media scrum in front of the players.
Oh.
And that was the first time. Now, granted, we were still socially distanced. There was a velvet rope, if you will, separating us, and the players had a little stand-up box to stand on. But that was the first time we've done that since
2 years.
What? Yeah, I mean, it's been 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years
since we've actually done that, and it was bizarre because it had been so long, but it was also strangely familiar.
Yeah.
And I think the part of doing this job that you and I do, covering games in the arena and being able to talk to the players after the game, there's just a different element of familiarity there when you're able to actually stand in front of someone and speak to them, as opposed to talking to them through Zoom or even sitting in a room, separated by 2 or 3 rows of chairs asking questions.
Yeah.
So that was a big surprise for me. I was not expecting that at all. And the fact that it was the NHL that was in charge of it and not just this team or that team, I don't know, maybe things are starting to loosen up a little bit on that front, and that would be a really welcome thing.
I'm very excited about that possibility. That would be fantastic. So there you go. It's been a crazy week. I know we've got a little bit of a shorter show today, but that's just because we've got a lot of hours underneath us and we're tired and we want to go to bed. But I think there's a lot more that we could talk about with this, and maybe some of that will come up in the subsequent episodes. this week ahead for the Predators is very light.
Yeah.
They have 2 games only this week. Wednesday at Seattle, 9 p.m. start locally, and then Saturday at San Jose. It's even though it's a West Coast, it's a 7 p.m. start locally. I guess it starts at 5, right? And it's like a matinee game in San Jose.
Wait. Oh, is it?
I guess so, because it starts
Nice.
at 7 p.m. start here.
Oh,
Maybe.
that's okay. I like that.
I think that's right.
Yeah, if I get a West Coast game, I don't have to stay up until 3 a.m. for. That's
maybe just
wonderful.
check. Maybe just double. Maybe
You're right. No, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
it's a 7 o'clock start in the Central Time. That's beautiful. Okay. Love
Perfect. 2 games this week. That's it. The Predators need to get. They need to win both those games. They need to beat Seattle. They need to beat San Jose. Those are not very good teams. They need to come away with wins there. So
yeah,
no way around it.
I agree.
All right. You can check out all of our hockey coverage at A2ZSports.com, and you can also go to ontheforecheck.com as well and check out Shaun and everyone who writes there. Follow me on Twitter at AlexDoherty1. I saw what that was. Follow me on Twitter at AlexDoherty1 and follow Shaun on Twitter at SCSOTF. Show it again.
Oh, this? Let's see.
Yeah. House Cats, right?
There. Yeah, House Cats in SH. The hockey / Predators meme lord of the internet.
There you go.
Definitely need to give him a follow at House Cats in SH.
I would agree
on
with
Twitter.
that. All right.
Yeah, big time.
Let's go ahead and shut it down. See everyone next week.